Hello and welcome to StratNewsGlobal. This is a special offering for our privileged members, and we try and bring to you little known facts in India's recent history post-independence, maybe some battles, anecdotes from some wars that are not very well known, some foreign policy initiatives, some treaties. And this time I thought I will recall the Battle of Haji Pir, or the capture of Haji Pir Pass, which connects Uri and Poonch, or used to connect Uri and Poonch, which was India's glorious achievement in the 1965 war, exactly 60 years ago in August 1965. Although the Battle of Haji Pir now is more or less forgotten, and in fact it is seen as a setback because the Haji Pir Pass was returned to Pakistan under the Tashkent Agreement, which happened in January 1966 in the talks between India and Pakistan, which was mediated by the Soviet Union, then Soviet Union, in Tashkent. And of course, Haji Pir remains one of the kind of setbacks that people remember. But I want you to remember the achievement of the Indian Army, and particularly the company of one para, which captured the Haji Pir Pass in daylight, in broad daylight, against all odds. Now, many a times, small battles proved to be a turning point in many cases. In April 2013, military enthusiasts from the world over had gathered at London's National Army Museum, and they voted the twin battles of Kohima and Imphal in the Second World War in April to July 1944 against the Japanese Imperial Army, which was on a rampage. And the British Indian Army halted them there, pushed them back, and then finally won the victory in Burma, now Myanmar. Was considered the greatest battle ever fought in beating the odds and looking at decisive victories. So, and to give you a perspective, the Battle of Waterloo and Normandy came number 2 and 3 in terms of the voting that was done by a select audience of military enthusiasts, not ordinary citizens, mind you. To that extent, it was subjective, but the greatness of the battle is always judged by its political, cultural, and social impact, as much as its military impact. Then Imphal and Kohima were really significant for a number of reasons. The Japanese were proved to be not invincible, and of course, then the British Army, the British Indian Army, under General William Slim, won the battle. Now, why am I telling you that from 1944? Because Haji Pir, in my view, was equally significant and important, the Battle of Haji Pir and the capture of Haji Pir. Remember, India has fought 4 major wars with Pakistan, not considering Balakot and Operation Sindoor as wars, 1947-48, 1965, 1971, and Kargil in 1999. And many heroic acts, decisive moments we have spoken about at various places. But if one battle that truly comes to mind as a turning point in the overall context of the war, the vote should go to the conquest of the Haji Pir Bulge under what was called Operation Bakshi in August 1965. Haji Pir was an important infiltration point in the Kashmir Valley and Rajouri Poonch areas. It is on the Pir Panjal range. It is at an altitude of about 8,600 feet and is on the road between Uri and Poonch, which gives considerable leeway to any infiltrators coming in there. Now, as the Indian Army took the decision in the middle of August 1965 to go on an offensive after Pakistan had tried to capture Jammu and Kashmir, one juicy target that it needed to bring under control was the Haji Pir Pass. But it was not going to be easy. Brigadier Zoru Bakshi, or ZC Bakshi, a veteran of the Burma campaign in World War II, was commanding the 68th Brigade, which was under the 19 Division located at Baramulla. And the infiltrators from Pakistan had started pouring into the valley. The brigade was pulled into the conflict. And at that point in time, Brigadier Zoru Bakshi, who was considered a hero, a battle-hardened veteran, was the most decorated Indian officer with a Param Vishishta Seva Medal, a Mahavir Chakra, a Veer Chakra, a Vishish Seva Medal and MacGregor's Medal. But he needed to prove himself once again. And when he briefed his COs on 21st August that we need to go on an offensive and take proactive action to bring back the Haji Pir Pass under control. His opening remarks, and I quote here, and I'm quoting from my own book, 1965, Turning the Tide, How India Won the War. And I quote him here, he says, "Gentlemen, since 1947, we have been cribbing that government does not allow us to attack, go into offensive, but this time we have been given a clear mandate to capture Haji Pir at any cost. Where I stay at any cost, a civilian may means 100% casualties, but as an infantryman, I say only when you have had 40% casualties, come back to me, otherwise press home." And that's what he told the battalion commanders or the COs, the commanding officers, and said, go ahead and capture Haji Pir Pass. Now, Haji Pir Pass, like I said, was over 8,600 feet. It was raining very heavily. And he also knew that the Pakistanis would have reinforced Haji Pir because the battle was going on for some time. So on the night of 27th and 28th of August, the vital pass was reinforced and fortified by the Pakistanis. But he needed now to go ahead. So he called in CO First Para, Lieutenant Colonel Prabjinder, and said, can you do a commando-style operation? So the CO said, certainly. He didn't say no at all. And he nominated Major Ranjit Singh Dayal. A company was entrusted to him, a company strength, which means about 100 plus soldiers of one para. And he started the operation. And Zoru Bakshi, in his typical Punjabi, style or Punjabi language, he told Major Dayal that if you win Haji Pir, you will be the hero. But if you can't, I will be arrested for taking a unilateral decision, because he was going against the orders. The orders were not to attack Haji Pir because it was reinforced. But he said, I needed to do this. So on 28th of August, at about 5:30 in the evening, the company of one para started marching. The column encountered heavy rain. The movement was difficult. By 1900, it was completely dark. But Major Dayal decided to continue climbing towards the pass, despite the adverse conditions. They were climbing. They came across the militia members of Azad Kashmir, kind of paramilitary force, captured them, and made use of those captured prisoners by forcing them to carry loads of ammunition and radio. By early morning on the Uri-Poonch road, 10 kilometers below the pass, on 28th August, the company halted. Major Dayal decided to give them a couple of hours of rest because it was pouring rain, it was cold, and they were tired. But at 7 o'clock in the morning on 28th of August, the column resumed the march. In another 2 hours, barely 700 meters short of the pass, they encountered the Pakistani troops perched atop the peak. They were surprised, completely surprised to see the column climbing up. They had never thought that the Indians would come in the pouring heavy rain. They thought they would have abandoned the attack. But the surprised Pakistanis tried to open fire with the medium machine gun. But the Indian soldiers outwitted them, and the two platoons climbed the steep spurs from the western side of the pass, silenced the medium machine gun, and then went on to capture the main defenses. The supremely fit and confident paratroopers did the job exceedingly well, surprising the Pakistanis, capturing many of them, killing most of them. And as rest of the column fetched up, the Pakistanis fled because they realized that they were outnumbered or they were outgunned. So at 10 o'clock on 28th of August, Haji Pir was in India's control, thanks to the daring daylight attack by one paratroops under Major R.S. Dayal. One small anecdote again about Major R.S. Dayal, who later went on to become Lieutenant General in the Indian Army. He was the one who led the Operation Blue Star in June 1984, when Golden Temple had to be rescued from terrorists holed up inside there. Now, this was a major turning point as far as the 1965 war was concerned. The main infiltration route was now plugged, and the morale of the Indian Army actually skyrocketed because of the two successes. One, of course, the Haji Pir one, and before that, in Kargil, which is a separate incident and a separate battle that was fought. Remember, these battle victories had come in less than 3 years after the humiliation against China in 1962. That's how 1965 war panned out. There are several other incidents in 1965. In fact, on 6th of September, India also opened the Punjab front and went almost to the doorsteps of Lahore, which maybe on some other day I will share that story with you. But Haji Pir Pass was captured. It was a turning point, like I keep saying. Unfortunately, in the political give and take and in the negotiations, it was given back to Pakistan to an utter surprise and shock of the military planners and, of course, other observers. And India perhaps still regrets that decision of giving away or giving back Haji Pir Pass after having captured it with such great courage and bravery that was shown by the one para troops on the night of 27th and 28th of August, which is, like I said, one of the most daring battles fought by the Indian Army. That's all I have. Keep watching StratNewsGlobal, and we'll keep bringing to you this little-known facts and something that we cherish in our military history. This is the attempt to not just inform, but also to tell you that the Indian military wins against all odds. It sort of goes on the back foot sometimes, but certainly recovers from it, and that is what is important. It's not important how many times you fall, but it's most important how many times you get up after falling. And that's how the Indian Army has done that time and again, or the Indian military has done that time and again. This is one of that incidents, one of those incidents which actually give a lot of inspiration to the younger generation. And that's why I thought I'll bring it to your notice. That's all I have. Time for goodbye. Keep watching StratNewsGlobal.